It's not working at all. Okay, there we go. The hidden conditioning of high achieving women. Listen, you've built your career, success, life, so why does it still feel like something's missing? High achieving women aren't struggling because they lack power. You don't lack power. You've been trained to give your power away. This isn't about working harder or another strategy. Today's video is all about stepping into a version of yourself that isn't constantly editing, shrinking, or questioning her power. I'm Deidre Beecham, I'm a nice girl dropout and visibility catalyst, and I partner with visionary women to own their voice, break free from expectations, and lead with unapologetic power. There's a hidden conditioning for high-achieving women, and I want to talk about that. Nice girl training at the very highest levels is, in fact, in place. How many times have you held back what you really wanted to say so that you could be agreeable, palatable, not too much? Don't rock the boat. Even the most accomplished women are still subconsciously conditioned to be agreeable. Every time I used to speak on the stage, I still speak on the stage. Every time I would speak on the stage or attended a conference, people used to approach me with admiration, right? It was, you're so accomplished. You're so amazing. I wish I had your courage. You're so lucky. I just came to hear your voice. I heard you were speaking today. So from the outside, I mean, I truly looked like I had it all. Success, confidence, perfect life. I knew how to say the right things, how to present myself, when to speak, and I was miserable because I was none of those things. I was not being me. You see, I had been taught to aspire to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And my job was to ensure that no matter what happened at home, people believed that my husband was incredible. But let me back up a little bit. I grew up in Virginia, and over time, I became the perfect representation of what a white girl in America is supposed to be. Long, flowing blonde hair, girl next door look, went to church, married the right man, had 2 children, a dog, great insurance, gorgeous home in middle America. Not middle of America, but class-wise, middle America. And I knew exactly how to do all of those things. But that whole Proverbs 31 thing, the more I focused on his needs, the more I focused on my family's needs, the more I erased myself. This wasn't selflessness. This was self-abandonment. And the worst part was I didn't even realize it was happening. I didn't realize I was losing myself. I believed that everything that I was doing was right. That's how deep nice girl training goes. It teaches women to prioritize everybody above themselves to the point that they forget who they are. Forget they even exist. Forget the parameters around who they are. There's so many masks in place to protect you from other people, from making sure you're doing exactly the right thing so that you don't get criticized. And this is where it gets even deeper. I want to talk about cognitive dissonance that happens as a result of nice girl training. Nice girl training isn't just external. Nice girl training is pressure that over time, in order to alleviate that pressure, becomes internal and becomes ingrained in internal conflict. Women absorb these messages so deeply that they silence themselves without even realizing it over time. This creates a split, right? There's this split between, until there's that, well, there's, in the beginning, there is this little battle It wasn't as much of a battle for me because I wanted to be the nice girl. It was something I aspired to. I loved praise, still do, but I loved it so much that I really went after all the nice girl training. And so I was happy to push myself down in order to get the praise. But it created a split. And it's this internal war between who I am or who you are and who you're being conditioned to be. So NGT, or nice girl training, conditions us to seek outside validation. So you're always looking external because that's where all the punishment comes from, right? But that's where all the praise comes from. You're kind of conditioned to go for this. It makes self-trust nearly impossible. It's there's kind of like this weird internal cycle of shame. I suffered in silence, as many high-achieving women do, because nice girl training doesn't just hold us back professionally, doesn't hold you back just professionally, it also seeps into every part of our lives. It's the cause of people-pleasing, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, fear of confrontation, over-apologizing, struggling with boundaries, let me see, feeling guilty for success. I knew I was missing something. So for those of us that were also, lucky you if you fall into this category, if you were also raised in religion or surrounded by narcissists or even just one very intense narcissist while you're growing up, the conditioning of nice girl training becomes even stronger. It's not just external, as I said before. It becomes a part of our identity. We start becoming smaller, putting ourselves into smaller spaces, not testing the waters so much, being very accommodating, very agreeable. And we believe that that's who we are. We believe we are nice, and we want to be nice. We're praised for being nice. In fact, we'll be nice to the detriment of ourselves. And this is why I have an acronym for NICE, which is not in conscious existence. NICE. Not in conscious existence. I would much prefer you be kind. That's another video. Let me continue. So what if I told you that this conditioning isn't just emotional? It's not. It's also rewiring your brain. So let's take a look at nice girl training and the brain. Research shows, and I just had this thought the other day and did some research on it. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a psychiatrist, but through some very deep research, I know that prolonged exposure to a narcissist, this has been proven, the research is available, that prolonged exposure to a narcissist can alter your brain chemistry, which keeps the brain in this constant state of cognitive dissonance and stress. And over time, this kind of weakens self-trust, reinforces survival mechanisms like people-pleasing and self-doubt. Sounding familiar to what we just talked about, right? So because nice girl training operates in a similar way, it teaches women to suppress their instincts, silence their needs, and seek validation from external sources. Like, you know, and so, sorry, I lost my train of thought. And so that rewires the brain and keeps it in like a fight or flight position, prioritizing approval over authenticity. This creates chronic self-editing. I used to have this constant barrage of different answers that I could say to somebody before I'd pick just the perfect one to say. It's like you cannot trust the first thing that comes to your mind. People-pleasing reinforces neural pathways that make rejection feel like a huge, overwhelming threat, making you feel unsafe. It is also a deeply ingrained fear of stepping into power. even if it's your power to take, even if it's your power to step into. It is terrifying. Breaking free from these patterns feels incredibly unsafe. So how many more years are you going to keep waiting? Just doing a video like this used to terrify me because I was so afraid of making a mistake or what's going to happen. What are people going to think? I don't care anymore. This message is so critically important. How much longer are you going to silence yourself for their comfort? So the truth is, and I really want to share this with you, rewiring is possible. You do not have to keep your brain in this state. It is absolutely possible. Your brain is not broken no matter what you've said to yourself. Because I used to tell that to myself. What is wrong with my brain? There's nothing wrong with your brain. It can be rewired. It is not just about mantras and whatever else or just therapy. There are things you can do to rewire your brain. Conditioning is powerful, but you are so much more powerful, and your brain is absolutely amazing. So I had buried my own voice, and the only place that I truly felt alive was on stage. But off stage, I had learned to shrink, to silence myself, especially around men. And that silence wasn't just cultural, that was reinforced through trauma. I was 12 when a farmer across the street shoved his tongue into my mouth, and he called me sweet. I was a teenager when a man held a 2x4 over my head and told me to do some things or he would unalive me. I was an adult when my stepfather, claiming spiritual authority, gaslit me into believing that he cared when he was truly simply controlling. This is where nice girl training can become very deadly, because when you're taught to be agreeable, to stop, you also stop fighting back. You don't even see the danger because elders and other people in authority, you've been taught to completely demean yourself to that. And even inside your own house, you're committed to a lesser place in the stronghold in the family. And so women don't do anything or just completely conform. I do want to take a quick moment to talk about this difference between concern and correction, because this is something I struggled with for quite some time. And let me ask you this. Have you ever been told, I'm just trying to help? But deep down, you knew it was something different. You felt it. You knew it was control. A manipulative person, or a narcissist, especially a narcissist, will present control as care. They'll tell you they're correcting you because they love you, that they just want what's best for you. And it sounds awesome. But a correction from a manipulative person isn't about love. It's simply about keeping you small and taking your energy. So let me give a quick example of the difference. Each of these sentences is going to talk about concern, but you can tell that one is definitely not concern and the other one is control. Excuse me. So, listen to the difference. One, I'm concerned that you're making a mistake, and here are all the things I see you doing wrong. That's the first one. They're concerned. Second one, I'm really concerned that you might be making a mistake. Would you be open to discussing it? I'd love to hear your perspective so I can understand your decision and possibly help if you'd like my help. Do you hear the difference? right? Concern without asking for your input is not concern. It's control. Yeah. All right, let me see where I am here. Okay. So when I finally saw through this, because this is something I had to see through myself, when I finally saw through this, I realized something incredibly powerful. The only people who benefit from your silence are the ones who fear your power. And the moment they feel that they do not have power over you is the moment that they will fight back fiercely because they feel that they're losing that power or control. You have to decide that that's okay because you are more important, and keeping your sanity is more important than appeasing them. And this was my turning point. I wish I could say it was instant. because it was not. It certainly was not. But cognitive dissonance kept me stuck just way longer than I'd like to admit. Way longer. Let's say it was a few decades. And that's why high achieving women struggle so much, because carrying this with you, you can mentally do all the mental gymnastics that you want about where you want to be and how you're justifying how you're being in certain situations, beat yourself up, etc. But it's not just about external expectations. It's about unlearning all of the conditioning that has been forced upon you, that you have been led to believe about yourself, even though it's not true. So, all right, so you made it to the end. Awesome. And clearly something hit home. So now the real question that I want to ask. Are you just nodding along? Or are you ready to make a move? So drop a fire emoji if you're ready, if you're in, and subscribe if you're done playing by their rules. I'd really love to have you come along with me. Next up, we're going to talk about why success still isn't setting you free. Be bold, be you, and own it. Take care.